Another session on customer due diligence, specifically aimed at politically influential people. Narishi, help us out there. Create context and tell us what this is all about.
Yes, I think one must think first, why is this called out specifically in customer due diligence? A person who is prominent, politically prominent, has a level of influence in decision making. They generally have access to budgets, and they are not automatically involved in some kind of corruption or bribery. They just present a higher risk because they have access and control over resources and funds at their disposal because they are in that position of power. So it's not to say that when doing customer due diligence, if you pick up that somebody is a mayor, or a premier, or is politically influential, that you need to treat them differently. You still need to do, we're still in a TCF world where we treat everybody fairly. What it means from a FIC perspective is that we then need to apply heightened risk measures on that person. And we need to make sure that we are comfortable that based on our risk matrix, that automatically, if they're specifically a foreign prominent public official, that there's a high risk involved in that. So you get a domestic prominent influential person and you get a foreign prominent public official. Generally, the person should have been in that position sort of in the last sort of 12 months. From a domestic perspective, they could have been acting in that position in the last 6 months, and then it would make them, a prominent individual. And there is a guidance note which then also gives you some help in terms of some of the websites that you can go to get the lists of who's the premiers and who are the mayors, etc., so that you can identify. And there's also a list that explains who is a foreign prominent public official. So an ambassador, people that are in the military, heads of state. And then on the domestic side, it could even mean people that are chairpersons of an audit committee. So you need to have that list at hand so that you know that when that person comes and engages with you, that they potentially are on that list. And then what it means is that you then need to perform enhanced due diligence if you associate any kind of extra risk and heightened risk with that person. Of course, it is also anybody that's associated. So it's not just the client who is a DPIP or FPP or whatever you want to call the acronyms, but their wife or their spouse could be in a position of prominence, and then you need to make sure that you are doing your due diligence in accordance with your risk matrix, which says there's higher risk here. I need to do enhanced due diligence. I need to do more work on identifying the source of the funds, why they're doing it. Some need some source of wealth, manager approval before I conclude a transaction. So you don't need to make the person feel uncomfortable practically. That's not the way to do it, because there's not an automatic thing that I'm a mayor, therefore I'm involved in some kind of money laundering. There isn't anything like that. You just need to apply the risk measures accordingly.
Yeah, just perhaps if any of our viewers or listeners have difficulty in obtaining those lists, you go to fic.gov.za and you look under compliance guidance, the icon for compliance guidance, and you look for Public Compliance Communication 51, which was issued in December 2021. That contains the lists for South Africa and for foreign FPOs, FPPOs. Yeah, those acronyms that they use.
Germa, any additional comments?
I often get asked the question, if you sit with a client in front of you, how would you know if they are a prominent public influential person? It's simple, you ask them. Do you perform a prominent role in the government? Do you perform a prominent role in the military? Or are you related to someone who does? So that's your point of departure. Then obviously if you've got a questionnaire, customer due diligence questionnaire, you can ask the questions there as well. But sometimes it's simpler than you think, just ask.
Yeah, and I think just when you have regard to all the available information, the PCC actually mentions and says you must be aware of the fact that your clients know that we know that they pose a higher risk and that they may want to obfuscate that fact. So have a look at all the available information. So, and if there are any other indicators to say that your client may not be truthful about their position, then you have to, you have to, yeah, then you have to not necessarily do enhanced due diligence, but you have to do perform additional veracity checks. This is what the term that they use. Then you would go and interrogate the lists and that kind of thing. To go and manually search through every list of every municipality, who every municipal manager is in South Africa, is just absolutely an impossible task. So typically, as a little flag that I recommend is to see whether the client is paid by government or by a municipality. So look at the payroll, look at, you know, where, and that kind of thing. That's a simple thing, and then you can go and do a search.
And I think it's also important that you understand that it's the client as well as somebody acting on behalf of the client, as well as the ultimate beneficial owner. So if the ultimate, so you could be dealing with a juristic type of entity, and the ultimate beneficial owners could be politically prominent persons. You then need to perform the due diligence accordingly.
All right. Thank you.